Hello and welcome to the Capitol Report on Entity Television. I'm Steve Lance. As the House of Representatives now searches for its next speaker, some are insisting rules changes come along with it. Entity's Melina Wisecup has some updates for us from Capitol Hill. So Melina, this entire situation came about because of one rule, that is that any member of Congress can bring a motion to vacate. Now some want to revert back to the old order of business to avoid another ousting. Tell us more.
So remember, that motion to vacate rule was only reinstated during this Congress. Now some want to revert and get rid of that motion to vacate rule, saying that they don't want to see the ousting happen over and over again. Now there are some Republicans who do want to keep this in place, arguing that the motion to vacate is the only way they can hold the speaker accountable. But now there's a growing list of moderate Republicans who want to get rid of this rule, some even saying that they're not willing to support any candidate for speaker unless that rule is changed. While others do want to see change, they're not entirely sure over specifically what they want that change to be, such as what Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene told me just earlier. Take a look.
Motion to vacate is a tool to hold a speaker accountable, but we don't want to continue going forward in a situation where anyone can motion to vacate at any time for any reason.
And Congressman Matt Gaetz did have some interesting comments to say on this front, writing on X that he'd basically give all of his Republican colleagues whatever they want on the motion to vacate in exchange for some proposals made by a Democrat Congressman, Ro Khanna. These are policies such as banning stock trading and other issues. Here's what Congressman Ro Khanna told me about all this.
I believe that we need to ban lobbyists and PAC money. We need to ban members from trading stock. We need to ban members from becoming lobbyists. And I was encouraged that Representative Gaetz agrees with that. And these are the reforms that should be part of the conversation, whoever the new speaker is.
As for that big question of who will become the next speaker, of course, we know those big names who are in the race: Jim Jordan, Steve Scalise. Now we're hearing some news of former President Trump. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene told me that she spoke with the former president one-on-one in a phone conversation, and he said he was open to it. But ultimately, we'll get more insight into this next week when the Republicans meet for their candidate forum on Tuesday, and ultimately that vote on Wednesday. Reporting from Capitol Hill, Melina Wisecup, NTD News.
The White House calling for more support for Ukraine amid deadly Russian airstrikes. But the future of Ukraine aid has now become more uncertain as the House of Representatives seeks its new speaker. NTD's Iris Tao brings us more from the White House.
The White House says the U.S. has to continue supporting Ukraine. That says a Russian missile strike killed at least 51 people in eastern Ukraine on Thursday. Ukrainian officials say it's one of the deadliest attacks against civilians since the war began.
We have to continue to support the people of Ukraine because this is the horrifying nature that they live in every day.
The White House said earlier this week that it would soon announce another aid package for Ukraine. But over in Congress, GOP lawmakers are growing increasingly skeptical about sending more taxpayer money. And Congressman Jim Jordan, one of the leading candidates now vying for the Speaker's gavel, said on Thursday that he needed answers on two fundamental questions.
What is the goal? What is the objective? Second, how's the money being spent? How can we account for that? I think the American people are entitled to know the answer to those two questions before we continue to send their hard-earned money to protect Ukraine's border when we have what's happening on our border.
And Congressman Jordan has signaled that if elected as Speaker, he would not support another aid package for Ukraine. And Congress has already left out any additional funding for Ukraine in its latest short-term spending bill. But President Biden says it will soon give a major speech to stress the need to support Ukraine. Reporting from the White House, Iris Tao, NTD News.
President Biden previously saying there would not be a single foot of border wall built under his watch. Now it appears his administration is changing course, and construction on the Trump-era border wall will soon begin. NTD's Jason Perry has the latest.
In the midst of a major surge of illegal immigrants, the Biden administration says it's planning to resume construction on the Trump-era border wall. The plans are to build the wall in Starr County in South Texas, a hotspot for illegal immigration. This decision to resume construction comes as the Border Patrol encountered more than 227,000 people crossing the southwest border in just the month of September. In a Thursday notice on the Federal Register, Department of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas said there's an immediate need to construct physical barriers to prevent unlawful entries into the United States. However, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre gave a different reason for resuming construction on the border wall. She noted that there are still funds from the Trump administration that are to be used specifically for a border barrier, and the deadline to use them is approaching.
This is a law that we are complying with. We have asked Congress multiple times to reappropriate this. This is not the way that we believe is going to be effective here.
And when President Biden on Thursday was asked if walls work, he said no. Former President Trump said this on Truth Social. Will Joe Biden apologize to me and America for taking so long to get moving and allowing our country to be flooded with 15 million illegal immigrants from places unknown? I await his apology. I spoke with Andrew Arthur, resident fellow in law and policy at the Center for Immigration Studies.
Biden doesn't plan on stopping his catch and release policies at the southwest border, so at least erecting barriers gives the illusion that the president is doing something.
Arthur explained that there are several things in play here.
And I think the political pressure coming from northern Democratic officials is a whole lot stronger in the administration's decision in this regard than any demands being made by agents on the southwest border.
And he added this about the area where the border wall is set to be built in South Texas.
So this is a heavily trafficked area. It's also a known drug trafficking area. The drugs hopefully are at least part of the consideration for why the Biden administration is doing this. We've seen 2 consecutive years of new highs for fentanyl overdose deaths and deaths on other synthetic opioids. And it's important to remember that back in 2007, then Senator Joe Biden talked about how important fencing was to stop the flow of drugs into the United States.
Now, without a set start date for construction, many are wondering when it will begin and how much of the border wall will be built. Jason Perry, NTD News.
Several high-profile Democrats making their way to San Francisco, this to honor the late Senator Dianne Feinstein. She died last Friday at the age of 90. The funeral service was held behind closed doors at the San Francisco City Hall, this for security reasons. Those in attendance included Vice President Kamala Harris, Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi, and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. President Biden delivering a recorded statement. Feinstein was elected as mayor of San Francisco back in 1978. She later served in the United States Senate for over 30 years. She had long pushed Washington to establish closer ties with Communist China. The Senate was in recess today for Feinstein's funeral. President Biden's family dog Commander has been removed from the White House. The Secret Service reported at least 11 biting incidents involving the German Shepherd. Bite victims included Secret Service agents and White House staffers. One of Commander's bites required hospitalization for the victim. Others required the attention of the White House medical staff. The White House today declining to reveal where the Biden family dog currently resides. Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.